First question is, making a movie is always a gamble, but in a way Dune is a gamble twice as much. It opens as Dune Part 1. How does it feel to create a movie that has to stand on its own, but also be an opener for a whole world?
Yeah, we can say it's a gamble. It's like a... but I thought that it was a better idea to do that than to try to compress all that story into one movie. I like challenges. I like, for me, that was part of the game to approach this way, and it's quite. I like, yeah, it's daring. I love the challenge. For me, it was like. But I will say this: I kept in my mind as I was doing the movie. In the back of my mind, I was saying, if it's the only one, I'm putting all my joy and I put a lot of it, all my energy into it. Like if it was the last movie. Anyway, when you do a movie, you always do it like if it was your last movie. So it's like, that's the way to do things. Yeah.
The idea of tackling a pre-existing property that's so popular, that's been filmed before, that has many fans that are rabid and waiting for for Villeneuve's version. Was there a pressure on you, on both of you, in fact, because you are creating Paul Atreides, but people has their own Paul Atreides in mind? Was that a big pressure, thinking of all the fans that know the book by heart?
Yes. The thing is that the idea was really to go back to the source material, to the book, and I tried with my team to be as close to the spirit. In fact, the good news is that I'm probably among the biggest fan of this book. I love this book since decades, since maybe 40 years. So I mean, I am one of these hardcore fans. So my toughest judge was myself. So that I knew, and that was difficult to deal with that judge, I will say, yes.
And what about you?
I would say less pressure from the previous iterations, with huge respect for the David Lynch version, the computer game, the sci-fi version, and more pressure from the amalgamation, as you put it, of a projection of Paul that people had, you know, from being a fan of the book, or, you know, also because it's been a while since, for the first time ever, perhaps, this sort of, you know, technology available to the film too, that an adaptation has been able to be done like this, and also with a master of cinema right now doing it. So I think the art takes place in the head of the audience members, so people will judge for themselves.
An interesting thing about the film is that it conveys lots of information from the book without saddling it with exposition and explanation. It gives a lot of for granted, but you understand everything. How did you work to preserve the ideas while not explaining them?
Yeah, that was one of the big challenge. You know, it's a book that contains a lot of background story, very complex cultures colliding together, and to try to preserve as much of the details, the colors, the texture, the depth of the book, still not overwhelming the audience with exposition. That was not done over a weekend. Honestly, it was a long process of writing, of meditating, of dreaming, and I will say that the movie got better from the screenplay to the shooting stage to the editing room. It's really a movie that evolved through time as we were making it. It's like, in fact, the answer is a lot of work, to say.
Some more work is about the language, the way you convey the idea of telepathic communication with the gestures, and was that a nightmare, or was that easily solved at the beginning of the project?
No, that was fun to do. That I had a lot of pleasure. I came with and this is an idea that came from the book, but it's like it's something that gave me access to the strategies, the inner thought of the characters and the strategies so it's that was just a lot of fun to do. Yeah, and it's a sign language that was designed
for the movie
by a language expert in LA that designed all those gestures, so the actors were studying this new language that, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was amazing.
Yeah, which happened in a way in Arrival. That's why I was asking. Something about Paul Atreides. He's a reluctant leader. He's not the first idea you get of an action hero, because he becomes a hero, but also when he kills for the first time, he has compassion for the person. So how did you work on this character, and then how did you choose Timothée for the part?
Well, I love that contradiction. I've never worked on a movie of this size before, and I keep saying it, but I just read in a book recently to live in paradox, not contradiction, and I feel that's perhaps the place that Paul gets to by the end of the movie, and certainly not at the beginning, and certainly not when he's on the, sort of hero, anti-hero's journey that he's launched on after the Gom Jabbar scene. As far as something to play, what a gift to be able to play that in a movie of this size and not to play an archetype or some sort of pastiche of a character, but rather play someone who is in deep conflict about the things that every young teenager goes through in some way, but also the pressures that are unique to Paul, unique to the situation in the Muad'Dib, the prophecy of the Bene Gesserit. And, with Denis' sensibilities, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I feel, just looking at his other films, he's as invested, if not more invested in character development, behavior, as he is in all these things that are above my pay grade, the scope of the film, the sets, the sound design, the music, so I think it all bled into each other.
And how about your choice of Timothée Chalamet?
Yeah, that's always embarrassing for Timothée when I start to talk about that, but I have to say the truth. The thing is that Timothée is one of the best actors of his generation, if not the best, and I needed someone that will have the strong shoulder enough to be able to carry the weight. Because we are just above his shoulder for 2 hours and a half, it's just like we are. He's almost in every shot, every scene. I mean, he's conveying a very. It's a simple story, but with a complex character development, and the story's relationship with his mother. It's like I needed a very, very, very strong actor with a very strong charisma, and someone that Timothée, if I may, is a brilliant. Young man. I mean, he's a very intelligent, high intelligence in the eyes, and a lot of wisdom for his age. I was always impressed by Timothée's intelligence, and in the same time, he looks tremendously young. so young on camera. So that was a good combination for me. He's Paul Atreides for me. I had no plan B. I had Timothée in mind, and I'm so grateful that today we're here.
Thank you.
What was it like to act on such a huge scope movie with special effects after making smaller movies such as the Woody Allen one or Call Me By Your Name? So completely different set, I assume.
And I must say, the special effects on this, I think I shot 2 scenes with a green screen in total on this. These sets were practical. The ornithopter was practical. When we shot in exteriors, we were either in Jordan or Abu Dhabi in the desert. So from that perspective, no difference. From the perspective of the amount of crew that were there, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, sometimes they're splinter crews, that becomes like a whole ship. And also the relationship with the director, and after everything that Denis just said, in addition to the experience I had, of course my gratitude is in the 10,000% to him. And yet I did have this awareness on set where I thought, man, Denis is the chief of like a huge warship right now. And he's not here to worry about me or not even all the actors. It's also his job, but it's everything. So I had a huge respect for working with a director for the first time that wasn't, in respect to probably technique and S&D in movies that, like the ones you alluded to, that are smaller in size. This is a whole different thing. And without talking too much, I'm sorry, I gotta say, on the flip of that, if the first couple days felt like that, or if some days on set where the fans and the machines feel enormous, Denis' creative team is a lot from his other films, so it just felt like stepping into a family, into a carnival. And as Javier said in a different interview today, it felt like an indie film with a big budget, indie film on steroids.
Yes. Well, I tried to preserve the intimacy with the camera at the beginning. Yeah.
The whole time it felt like.
The whole time.
And it shows. Thank you very much.
Thank
Hope
you.
to see you again for Dune Part 2.
Oh yeah, good.
Oh yeah, sure.
Grazie. Yeah, he warned you.
Yeah. Boom.
Grazie.
Grazie. Thank you.